Welcome to the Football Feast podcast, the go-to podcast for soccer or football players who want to eat, train, and recover like the pros. I'm Craig Evans, a sports nutritionist working with athletes at every level, from rising stars to seasoned pros. Here, we deep dive into how elite players fuel for success, chat with top coaches, chefs, and experts, and bring you real stories from the pitch. Whether you're chasing a contract or just looking for that extra edge, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Today, I'm joined by Barney, the lead nutritionist for Chelsea's women's team. Katie is behind fueling some of the biggest names in women's football, including Lauren James, Erin Cuthbert, Lucy Bronze, and of course, our very own Sam Kerr. In this episode, we discuss Katie's journey to Chelsea, what matchday nutrition looks like at one of the world's top clubs, an insight into why Chelsea's academy players are actually fueling more than their first team stars, how soy sauce has earned its place on the menu at Chelsea, why simple sugars are an absolute game changer for athletes, and why it's time the world stopped demonising them, and much, much more. So this is episode 14 of the Football Feast. Today's episode, we've got Barney. Katie is a nutritionist for Chelsea's women's team. Hi, Katie. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for stopping by, especially after just coming back from Barcelona at 1 a.m.
It's fine, it's fine. It is what it is. We gotta keep going. Yeah, I
Yeah,
managed to get a good sleep, so all good with me.
yeah. How is what's it like coming on the way back from such a result as well? Is it sort of like the team's drained a bit, or is the hope still high? Like we'll get back at them.
Yeah, I think obviously it's a hard result to take. But there is definitely belief that we can turn it around. I mean, we then have the home advantage at the bridge. We've done it before against Man City, so we can certainly do it again. I think the belief is definitely still high, as it should be.
Yeah. And just the way like your season's unfolded, like the whole team and just fighting on all fronts and the comeback against City, like yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how that comes back and how that match plays.
Yeah, I think the mentality's just been crazy this season. Yeah, the players are just so mentally strong and the whole team behind them, like we all want the win at the end of the day and we'll do anything to get there. And I think, yeah, that's the same for all the players. So yeah, it's very exciting to see what will happen on Sunday. Yeah, but we've got another game in before then, so we've got to focus on that one first.
Oh, yeah, no rest for the wicked.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll start off on the first question I have for you. So, can you share a bit about your journey into sports nutrition and sort of how you landed the role at Chelsea?
Sure. So I'll start kind of from studying days, which seems ages ago now, makes me feel a bit old. But I study sports science as my undergrad. I think I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go with my career. I knew I wanted to be in sport, but I didn't know what direction that looked like. I was always into food and nutrition and cooking and things like that. And then I think getting to do that subject. And I was a runner at the time as well, so being able to use the studies that you're learning in your own practice was quite cool. So then I did my master's in sports nutrition, um, and from there gained an intern role at Birmingham City Women, um, who at the time were in the WSL. So I was very fortunate to kind of get straight into, top female football. Um, and yeah, that was an internship part-time. And then the second season, I was still with them. I was with them for 3 seasons. But I also worked alongside other roles at like Ipswich Town Football Club, where I supported both the men's and the academy there, and Swim England, and my own consultancy practice alongside. So I was very busy, had lots of different part-time roles. And then on the third season, my time at Birmingham kind of increased. And then I think just to be honest, it feels really weird talking about how I got into Chelsea because it was such a whirlwind on how it happened. Um, I left Birmingham the season before, and I was just looking for new opportunities to do alongside my other roles that I had. And one of my contacts just reached out and said, "Look, Chelsea Academy are looking for someone, as in the boys' academy, just to fill in a gap whilst they were getting in a full-time nutritionist." So I went in there and I literally just did a few months with them, and then the head of performance at the women's team found out that I was down at the academy and that my role there was kind of only a short-term fix to them not having a nutritionist at all. So I just had a meeting with him and we kind of discussed yeah, what it would look like if I was to join the team and almost like an informal interview, essentially.
Mm.
And then they said, right, let's give it a go. So I then joined last season, just on a 2 to 3 day basis. Um, yeah, I didn't travel to games, so it was more, in the training ground, more consultancy work with the players and just trying to develop a bit of like there wasn't really much nutrition presence at the club, to be fair. So just trying to improve that. And then this season, I've been in 4 days a week, so nearly full time, and traveling with the team, going to every game. So it's been, yeah, kind of a different role this season as it was to last season. But yeah, it's crazy that I'm here. I'm very grateful, yeah, to be a part of this team.
Yeah, wow. That's really interesting. I like how sort of that journey unfolded, and even like how they weren't really looking, and you stepped in, and you must
Mm.
have one hell of a sales pitch as well. Um, but yeah, so yeah, and then like you've come in, and them to not sort of have that set up, and they must be realizing now like the benefits of it, or seeing sort of the added professionalism there as well. So that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you kind of look at their success and you think that they would have that support for years, but they've never had a full-time nutritionist. So it's just been great to push that and to drive that part of their support because it's what they deserve at the end of the day. Like they're top level athletes. They need that support.
Yeah. Have you so you would have had to roll out quite a bit there, and do a few educational sessions and sort of work with the chefs a fair bit there as well?
Yeah, I think to be fair, we've worked more on like provision side of things. Obviously there's been lots of education as well, but I think just driving the standards at the club, like food wise and tailoring it to their training days because where they'd only had consultants before that were maybe in 1 or 2 days, it was they obviously focus on like one-to-ones with the players and things like that
Yeah.
rather than the actual presence at the club. So that's something that I've really focused on and we now have like a dedicated little nutrition corner, and just the food's just improved massively. Menus on away trips have changed completely. Pre-match and post-match have changed completely. So, yeah, it's been really about driving that and getting it to the standards that the players deserve.
Wow, that's really cool. Like that you're sort of at the front of that and sort of nurturing that and pushing that forward. And like you said, like for an elite team and what they've been doing, to have you to come in and sort of like push that as well can only add another sort of like string to their bow sort of thing. Hey.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So what does sort of like a typical day look like for you at the club?
Yeah, it's a good question. It can change day to day, but I'll run through what my non-negotiables are throughout the day, I guess. So as I mentioned, we have like a little nutrition corner. So every day their water bottles will be filled, electrolytes will be put out next to them, Lucozades will be put out next to them. We have these little, I don't know if you've seen the like SAS beta fuel chews. So we chop those up. We put those out. They're like little energy chews that
Oh,
they
the
can have like
chews. Yep.
pre-training. Yeah, yeah. So we chop those up, put those out for them. There'll be other supplements out there. They've got like little pigeonholes with their supplements, so I'll be restocking those. Like they'll be individualized based on players' needs and things like that. Um, then I'll be up and around at breakfast, on player arrival, just being there to, check in with them, seeing how they're doing, making sure that breakfast is running smoothly. Um, then I make them individualized shakes for after their training. So I'll be still in the kitchen, like whizzing up some drinks for them. Which again has been like tailored based on their preferences or based on, whether they're building muscle at the minute or looking to just build lean mass. Yeah, so that'll be tailored to that. Um, Typically I'll then, depending on the day, I'll have a meeting with the catering team where we'll run through the menu for the next week. We'll run through what this week has looked like, what we can improve on, where the challenges have been, how we can we're always looking to what can we do better next week. Like that's always our mentality. Um, so yeah, we always have those kind of meetings then. Then it will be after training, so then I'll go back downstairs and I'll be around the players after training, helping with any other shake making. So they have like their pre-made ones and then they've got their own shakers where they can make their own, which some players prefer. So I'll just be around for that. And then again, that'll be lunchtime as well. So I'll be around at lunch, making sure that's all prepped and ready. And then typically then that'll be when I have any one-to-ones or any meetings to finish up the day with. And then it will be just washing everything, so putting the bottles in the wash and getting ready to go again the next day.
Yeah. Wow. I can imagine, when you look like a roster of a team, especially a team like Chelsea's, right? So you've got so many different people from different countries, different cultures that have probably got their different like nuances and different things that they like. So I can see and imagine that there'd be some added difficulties there.
Yeah, for sure. But to be fair, whenever players join, I kind of do like a questionnaire with them where I find out any preferences so I can kind of tie that into menus. Especially when it comes to like pre-match menus, post-match menus, they're what I focus on to make sure they've got their preferences and what they need to recover and fuel properly. Um, because yeah, they'll at the end of the day, majority of them have been in the game for years. They know what works for them. So I'm not one that will push them to completely change what they're doing. I like to just tie in what they're doing and just do those minor tweaks to improve their performance.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any that you've been sort of working with and you've been like, come on, just try it, just have a bit more of this. Is there any like that?
I think to be fair, like quite a few that you always want to be just pushing, like even if it's
Yeah.
like at half time or before the game. I think that's where I see the most bits where I just have to nudge a little bit. And we've actually just started like I'll stand outside the change room with supplements and I'll be handing it out as a way of just nudging it to because I think especially when you're focused on the game, like sometimes nutrition is the last thing that they'll think of.
Yeah.
But it can be the thing that can change the game at the end of the day, especially in that second half. So yeah, I think it happens quite a lot, to be fair, where you're just like, come on, just even if you just have half a Lucozade, like
Yeah.
it will make a difference.
Yeah, yeah, just getting that little bit of buy-in. Oh my God, the amount of players like I work with and like you get them to like I get them to have like a different pre-game meal and we're starting to get like those simple carbs in or adding a bit of honey there or some maple syrup or something like that.
Yeah.
And I get a text after the game and they're like, wow, like I feel like I'm on rocket fuel. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
for
feel
sure.
that.
I mean, so many players will have like pancakes in their pre-match meal, and it's like, can you just drizzle a little bit of maple syrup or a little bit of honey on there?
Yes, yes.
Even things like pairing it with juices, I think that's been a game-changing one. Like drinking your carbs has been game changing for a lot of the players because they don't realize how easy it can be to get your carbs in that way.
Yeah, and I've got a fair few players where they're like, they don't want to eat more or they're struggling. And like maybe I've asked them to eat more and we've tried to build that up, but they're like, it's starting to get a volume that they're not used to, and then just suggesting those kind of fruit juices and stuff like that is definitely a little cheat code there for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, so how does sort of nutrition change throughout sort of the season for Chelsea players? Like pre-season is a bit different to in season, and in season to off season. Is there differences?
Typically, so on our preseason tour, it was quite intense. Like the training was high intensity. We had two games out there as well. Um, and also typically it's in a different environment, so we'll go away. So we were in America for our preseason tour, um, where the humidity was just on another level. So yeah, really trying to push hydration strategies in many different ways. Like we'll have ice pops out, we'll have slush puppies afterwards, and just tailoring it to suit the kind of demands in that kind of sense. And we tailored the menu to suit, the training days, and how intense they were going to be, and just making sure there's a wide variety. I think we probably provided at least like five sittings of food each day on tour just to try and push the fueling and the recovery to try and get them in the best position for the start of the season. That's kind of the aims for that one. And then I think kind of the winter months, I think the only difference really would be like what we would put on for the menus. So we have more like soups and things available at lunch. They'll have hot chocolate and things like that after training, right by their changing room to try and encourage a little refuel there.
Mhm.
Whereas we're now looking at things like I'll be making them like some ice lollies and maybe some slushies and things like that to help them hydrate and again refuel from that aspect. So and then yeah, things like vitamin D will be obviously over winter as well. We're hoping that we're now getting to the point where there's a bit more sun, but England is is not it's not always the case in England. So yeah, hopefully it will be more summery nutrition coming up now.
Yeah, yeah. I swear, anyone I talk to that's from England, there's always that hope for that sunny summer, and it's interesting to hear it from our perspective, like being in Australia, like like we're wearing shorts and stuff in winter all the time, and you can wear shorts and a shirt and you're fine. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's really interesting to think about, and sort of what you're sort of describing there is like when players like going to different countries, or even I can only imagine how hard it is for you to organize something like that preseason tour, the 5 meals a day, different country, hotel, and like organizing things with the hotels, and making sure the right things are in place. Like there'd be a lot of work, put in to try and do that.
Yeah, I think we probably work on the menus maybe 2 months before we go out just to so that then we can send it across to the hotels, make sure it's all okay for them. And then have a lot of communication in the lead up to that to make sure that they have everything we need and no timings. Because also players do media on preseason tour, so they'll be leaving at different times, so you have to then accommodate for that as well.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just as being as prepared as you can is the only way around it because at the end of the day you're at hotels and anything could go wrong on the day. Because and you can only react to so much. So I think yeah, definitely having the menus organizing calls with the hotels beforehand, speaking with the chefs, and yeah, we're fortunate to have a travel chef that will go ahead of us and then make sure that the food's all okay, and then can message me if I need to bring any foods with me on my way, which we do quite often. We have quite a few intolerances, so things like gluten-free can be really hard to source in different hotels. So we always
Yeah.
have like an emergency pack, as we like to call it, that we'll bring with us.
Yep. Yeah, wonderful. That actually brought popped something in my head actually because I was talking to a mother the other day, and she's saying how like she takes her children a lot and they go to these tournaments interstate or in different countries, And these teams go out into there and they don't know what to grab. They don't know what to get at the hotels in the morning, and while they're traveling on the plane or they're landed, they've got that early morning, then they've got their tournament games on, and they're not really too sure what to feed them. So that was actually something I was going to start putting together to sort of like the information for parents and stuff. But yeah, because it would be difficult, like especially for them who don't know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So what are the like biggest nutrition mistakes you see players make, even at the elite level?
Oh, I think probably the biggest one that we've worked on this season is like post-match recovery. So every player will get a shake after the game. Um, and they're very good. They're very compliant with that. They'll finish those for sure. But the post-match food that we had previously was the players found it too heavy for after the game. So yeah, the nutrition post-game was quite challenging. And the uptake was very minimal. So we kind of switched it up this season to have more picky food, as we like to call it over here in England, picky bits for tea.
Oh,
So
okay. Finger food.
yeah, so we've now yeah we've now changed it so it's like mini burgers or pizzas or little burritos or nachos, sushi, like little things like that that actually like if you look at their plates, they're probably having a substantial meal, but they don't even realize it because it's little picky bits that they're having and they're going up for seconds. And yeah, so that's been game changing because I think especially when we're going through seasons like March, we had a game every three days. So yeah, making sure that they're refueling and recovering was really key for that month. So really pushing for them to maximize that window of opportunity. Um, and then I think sleep. We've really focused on being able to support the players' sleep. I mean, like we've just had last night, we get back at crazy hours of the morning, and being able to just maximize their sleep during that time to then be ready to go again, has been huge. And obviously, there's so much new research on things like magnesium and kiwis that are
Mm.
helping sleep. So it's just been something that they've really bought into because it's such a huge part of their recovery process. Yeah, they're the key ones that I would say.
Yeah. And I love how like so many big athletes are sort of coming out and saying how much sleep has helped them with their game and helped them get to where they got to. I think there was something I seen where like Roger Federer was talking about having 13 or 14 hours sleep a day. And then like
Wow.
one of yeah, like Matt Fraser, who was like the CrossFit champion, like 7 years running or something crazy. He was like naps. I have so many naps, like as many naps as I can get. I'll just get down and have a nap. So yeah, it's really interesting hearing that, and obviously good that you guys are pushing it. Um, yeah. So how do you guys approach? Do you approach filling different positions, or is it sort of more individualized for the person?
I think it's more individualized for the person. I mean, obviously their position does play a part, like goalkeepers in comparison to outfield. Um, and things like forwards versus midfielders, like there will be small differences, but it will just be based on them as an individual, what their goals look like, what they're currently doing. I think that's something that I always try and push, like, what are you actually doing now, and what can we do to just, even if it's 1% change, like what are we going to do that's going to improve that for you? And I think that just helps with buy-in because it doesn't seem like I'm changing their entire nutrition habits because they're already in so much like they've been in their career for years. So why are you going to go in and be like, let's completely change what you're doing?
Mm,
Yeah, more about those. How can we change it, even if it's 1%? How can we make that better?
yeah. Yeah, I can imagine working with like players of that caliber and if someone came to them and was like, "Hey, I want you to change it all." Like, if surely once you've made it to that level, it'd be pretty hard to like have someone to like, "Oh no, all right, I'm doing it all wrong."
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not worked for
Exactly.
me.
I don't think they'd engage with me at all if I went with that approach.
Yeah. I bet. Um, okay, so can you sort of break down like match day nutrition for Chelsea?
For
Sort of from
sure.
breakfast to post game, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. I'll go based on 2 p.m. kickoff, because that's probably our most common one on a Sunday. So typically, I always send them like a match day timeline so they've got that to refer back to. So we'll always have a pre-match 3 to 4 hours before the game. So in this instance, I always encourage like a light breakfast, even if it's just a bowl of cereal, because pre-match will be at 10:30. Um, so a lot of them, that's been a thing that I've probably pushed for actually this season is I think a lot of them previously would just turn up to pre-match not having eaten anything. And it's like, okay, but even if you can just have one piece of toast or make yourself a smoothie when you first wake up. We obviously prioritize sleep, so we're not encouraging them to wake up early and prep for this, but what can you have before pre-match that's going to give you that extra bit of edge? It doesn't have to be anything substantial, and I think that's probably a misconception that they had before, that they had to have like a big meal and then come to pre-match. So yeah, then we'll have pre-match at 11:30. Um, we go to a hotel for this, and I'll get there an hour before, make sure everything's set up and ready to go. So we have kind of like a combination of breakfast and lunch items available for pre-match, no matter what time the kick-off. So we'll always have, if it's at 8:30 pre-match, we'll still have pasta on just in case. Because there are players that will have that, which might be surprising. Um, so yeah, if it's a 11:30 pre-match, there'll be pancakes, there'll be pasta station, there'll be omelets available that they can pair with their toast, which is quite a popular one. Cereals, breads, like there's so much available. They'll have pre-made smoothies, juices on the table, things like that. And then from pre-match, they'll have when they arrive at the stadium, they'll have things like squares bars, Jaffa cakes, bananas, cereal bars, like you name it, we've got it on the halftime table. Um, they also have an opportunity to have supplements, but a lot of them won't have that, slash, I don't really push for that at that time. And then in their places, they'll have their waters, they'll have Lucasade. They'll obviously have things like electrolyte and like a carb drink powder available as well. Um, and then before warm up, I'll go in and just push for any last minute supplements. And as they come out of warm up, I'll be there with more supplements like gels, chews, the carb shots, which have been quite game changing. They're only like a few months old now, so
Yeah.
they've been game changing in nutrition for me. And then again at halftime, just going around pushing the same supplements available for them, encouraging like hydration and things like that as well. And then we always have their shakes prepped for them. I'll do this during their warm up, and it will be then by the bench. So then if there's any substitutions, they'll get their shake immediately after. There's also a snack box by the bench for any finishers that come off, slash the ones going on. So they can help themselves. Similar things like the squares bar, Jaffa cakes, all of that. Um, yeah, and then full-time whistle goes, we hand out the shakes. And then they'll have the post-match like we spoke about, like the burgers, the sushi, wraps, pizza, yeah, all of that. So that's typically what we provide, yeah, on a match day.
Yeah, brilliant. Um, yeah, I think that was really good actually, because that's some examples that I try to give to players I work with, and for someone coming from you, I'd like to show them this actually, because then they take it a little bit more seriously. Um, but yeah, no. So supplements wise, not right before the game, but leading up, is there like nitrate shots, caffeine gum, anything like that?
Yeah, there's always nitrate shots. Obviously there's specific protocol to follow with the nitrate, so we always kind of lead that up 3 days before the game. Have that out in the little nutrition corner at the training ground. And then obviously as they arrive at the stadium is their last shot. And then there will be caffeine gels and caffeine gum available. And we've got little caffeine tablets too. Yeah, I think that's it on our halftime table.
Yep, beautiful. Okay, so is there sort of a big difference between how you feel or yeah, how Chelsea feels their first team players versus like grassroots or academy players?
Yeah, I think so. So for our academy girls, I do support them with education and things like that as well. Um, they we kind of don't tailor it in the way that we do to the first team, I would say. Their carb intake probably stays quite high constantly because we're supporting their growth and development as well as their training. And quite often they'll have really busy schedules in comparison to first team players. Um, in the sense of, they're going to school, they might have PE at school, and then they're coming to do a training session as well. So I think, yeah, just there's more of a push for just overall calories, like trying to get them to provide themselves with enough energy, and then just always pushing high carb. Not, and that doesn't mean that I'm not pushing high carb for the first team players, but we kind of do tailor it to suit. So if there is a rest period where they've got a couple of days off, they can then just focus more on recovery and never going low carb. But it's not quite the same as those academy players where it's constantly at this high level.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. So yeah, with the first teamers, if you've got a bit of a couple of days break, you sort of back off the carbs a little bit. Whereas those academy players, we want to promote their growth as well as, their days are just crazy anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really about like educating them how much energy they actually need. Like they need more than the first team players at that age. And I think that's been something that's been a bit eye-opening for them that they need to eat more than some of our first team players. Yeah, they're quite surprised at how much they need to eat sometimes, and it can be challenging trying to fit that in around their daily schedule.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, some of the players that I work with were surprised about how much they have to eat, like the younger players as well. And even like parents. So like some of the parents I work with, like they'll be like, "Oh my God, my kid eats so much," and their body fat. Look, like, I haven't measured them, but it's very low. And they're like, "Oh
Yeah.
my God, they're always eating from the fridge," and I'm like, they need it. They are going through so
Yeah.
much. And these kids were training like 6, 7 days a week, like non-stop, and it's games every weekend, at least 2 games on Saturday. Yeah, as well as school and after school care and everything. So
Yeah, for sure. I think that's been big, like educating parents and being like, actually, like, not to worry if your child is always saying that they're hungry because look at their demands in comparison to these high level athletes. Like, it's a lot of food they need to get in, so encourage it.
yeah, because. Okay, so roughly how long are the players at the club training?
Um, it can change, to be fair, week to week. But I'd say at least an hour and a half of a training session, and then they'll do like half an hour of gym probably.
Yeah. So like 2 hours of training there. And then we're comparing that with a child who's, wakes up in the morning, might have before school care, go to school, run around playing chasey, everything at lunch, constantly active,
Yeah,
PE, like you said. They finish the day, maybe after school care, maybe just to play at school. Then they go to training. Like that's
yeah. And then they
gigantic.
get home from school and they're like, "Can I go out with friends?" And they're out like running about at parks. Like it's little things like that that they don't realize that that really is adding to their daily amount that they need.
Yeah. That's a massive difference. Yeah, I think that should be pointed out a lot more. Um, all right, so how do you work with players who have specific dietary requirements? So like gluten-free or plant-based diets or yeah.
Yeah, so it's about individualized support. So not so much with the gluten-free because it doesn't really change their requirements, but things like veggie and vegans, just explaining the additional requirements that they'll need and how they can still hit their protein target with plant-based foods. It's also about at the club we probably use a lot of gluten-free products just to make things easier for those players with gluten intolerances. So all the breadcrumbs that we'll have will be gluten-free. And then a lot of rice and potatoes are used in our menus as well, just so it's not those players who aren't gluten-free aren't having to eat gluten alternatives all the time. But things like breadcrumbs or even like soy sauce has been quite a big one because we have sushi after games and the gluten-frees could never have the soy sauce, and now we just get gluten-free soy sauce for everyone, and no one even notices a difference. And
Are there any sort of specific strategies used to help players maximize like energy levels during their busy WSL and Champions League schedule?
yeah, for sure. So I think obviously we had what we call March Madness, where it was a game every three days. Um, Combination of WSL, Cup games, Champions League. So it was a very busy period, and I think trying to get them to eat carbs all the time was challenging. And I think the way that we did it, we always made sure that there was a potato option, a rice option, a pasta option, a bread option each day, and they would change week to week. So it's not the same thing. I think that was something that I was really concerned about was, oh, we really want them to hit this high carb target, but there's limitations on how much we can change this based on, on a match day minus one, they want quite similar things. But we again don't want it to be boring. So we always have like a match day minus one pasta station where it'll be a live station, so the chef will be behind it.
Hmm.
They'll have other options on the pass as well, but they have that live pasta station specifically on a match day minus one. And the way that we did it, we just changed what pasta type we had available, made that different each day, what sauces we had, what toppings we had, and just tried to change it in that way because we were like, I mean, it was 8 games, so that's 8 pasta stations. So
Oh,
we really just wanted to make that different.
that's amazing. That's it's quite creative, isn't it? Or trying to find a way to be creative.
Yeah, for sure, because you don't want to change it because it's what's been requested, and what's been working really well. But you don't want to put the same options up because I know by the seventh game, they might not even go to the pasta station.
Yeah. How is spaghetti and soy sauce?
Oh, well, that's probably the one time we don't have soy sauce on the menu.
You didn't sneak it in there one day.
No, we didn't. We didn't. No. Um, I mean, we've had noodle bars where there's soy sauce available, but yeah, not on the pasta station.
Maybe that's the next one you can use. Let me know how that goes, please. You just be like, didn't work.
I think they just look at me weird, like, why is this on?
Zero buying.
But it's gluten free.
Oh God. Do you know what's going to be really funny about that? Is the whole soy sauce introduction of us talking about it just got deleted. Ah.
Don't know any context, and I think that's the best part.
People are going to be listening to this like, what's the soy sauce? Oh, good. All right, be professional. Um, all right, so how do you keep players engaged and sort of interested in the nutrition, especially younger ones coming into the squad?
Yeah, I think to be fair, we have like a leadership group, and they've been massive this season in pushing nutrition and highlighting how important it is. I think making it interesting. So we did like a thing in December. We did the 12 days of wellness across the club.
Okay.
Um, so we did um like lots of different things. Like we had kombucha available one day. We had like kefir drinks. We had the kitchen had made like these vitamin C um gummies that were like little teddy bears. So it was like they're having sweets, but really it was like an immunity chew. Um, so it's things like that, just making it like different, and not just the box standard stuff and changing the menu. And I think really to engage with players, especially the younger ones, is building that rapport with the players and having that trust level with them, so they feel that they can come to you with whatever needs they need. And I do, especially with the younger players, I'll have like a individualized education session with them. This might be like small focus groups, which we've done this season, or it'll be one-to-ones with that individual player. Um, and again, it's like tailoring it to their preferences, so they see like that they've been listened to almost.
Hmm.
Even when it's things like the pancakes that we had available, some of them wanted crepes and some of them wanted more of like the Scotch thick pancakes, and it's allowing them to have those options so that they can see they're being listened to, and then that kind of does make them engaged because they're like they want to talk to you more about how they can improve their nutrition from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. Like allowing them to have their choice and then obviously they're going to jump on it because they chose it. So
Yeah,
yeah, makes perfect
yeah,
sense.
for sure. I think engaging players in how what you actually provide as a nutritionist is game changing, because if they have even if they have like 5% of a say in what we provide, the buy-in is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, okay, so what advice would you give to sort of young athletes who want to optimize their performance through nutrition, but they don't have access to elite level resources?
Yeah, I think that is a big one. And it is something that um we are working on. Like me myself personally, I'm working on like, educating those at a lower level, and being able to empower them to achieve the same goals. I think it's about keeping it as simple as you can. Like you don't have to spend lots of money to hit that carb target. Like there's a lot of cheap alternatives that you can buy in, and explaining some different cupboard staples that you should have. Like your cupboard should be full of like pasta, rice, like potatoes, even like the simple things like what you should have stocked up. Education on like amounts of food and how they can achieve it on a budget. Um, Something that I've done previously in an academy setting is taking them on a shopping trip and giving them like a £20 budget and being like, right, I want you to buy your match day minus one day and your match day breakfast and your pre-match meal with that money. And it's so interesting to see them have to they have to realize that, a lot of branded items will not be within their budget, but there are
Mm.
alternatives out there where they can achieve a higher carb target sometimes with the supermarket owned brands.
Yeah, that's really cool. Oh, I love that idea. Um, yeah, I think that goes back again, just, giving the individual themselves their own ability to sort of choose and sort of learn from that. Yeah, I really
Yeah,
like
for
that.
sure. For sure. And it was things like in their pre-match meal or their breakfast, because they thought it had to be, the challenge was to like make it the best like nutrition wise for them as well. I didn't tell them what because I'd previously educated them on what match day minus one and match day looks like. And some of them were like picking up avocados for breakfast, and then they were like, but this is so pricey. And then I was like, but do you actually need an avocado for this day? Like, is that your
Mm.
priority? And it's about, yeah, little things like that where you think of nutrition and you're thinking, fruits, vegetables, proteins, all these like ideas of clean foods. And actually, like as an athlete, like that's not what you should be focusing on, especially on that match day.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I really like that. Also, going back to that as well, I think it was really cool because you've actually put them in a real setting, a real life setting.
Yeah.
They're in the supermarket themselves, and they've got the option to make choices themselves. Yeah, that's great. That's a good life one, isn't it?
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. And it's something that, when they eventually move out and have their own place, they're going to have to do on a regular basis. So it was just a bit of a life skill to teach them as well.
yeah, and like if they go on loan as well, the parents aren't
Yeah.
around and they're having to make those decisions. Yeah, no, I love that. Um, all right, so what's a common misconception about sports nutrition that you'd love to debunk?
Oh, it's a good question. I think there's many, but probably like the idea around like simple carbs being bad, being labeled as like these high sugary foods. I think particularly for younger athletes, even professional athletes, like you always see, if you think about, like I just said, like if you think about nutrition, you're always thinking about fruits and vegetables and the box standard that you are taught at a younger age in schools. And just being able to like change that mindset to be like, no, actually, it's just quick release energy. Like, it's to give you quicker energy. That's all it is. It's just digested quicker. There's nothing
Yeah,
bad about it, and it can be utilized to really benefit your performance. So, like, why are we so fearful of that? Just because it's getting into the bloodstream quicker? Like, yeah, it's such a game changer in sports nutrition. And I think, yeah, there really needs to be more education out there on that, to stop, yeah, demonizing these carb sources.
yeah, and especially when they're about to go out and use 1,000 calories on a match. Um, it's not like they're having it and then going about to have a movie marathon or something like that, or a
Yeah.
day of rest. And that's when they should be concerned and should back off from those things. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's literally about using it to your advantage. Like, use those foods at the times where your body is going to need it.
yeah, 100%. Okay, so with social media full of nutrition trends, how do you help players filter through misinformation?
Yeah, I think this has been a big one. I think especially since TikTok's been growing in popularity, it's something that I have to just monitor myself. I think as a human first, I like to watch these videos and see how I would react if I didn't have the knowledge that I do. Like, how would you take that information on? And then it's about just talking with the players. I mean, quite often, like they have that trust in me now where they can come up and be like, look, I've seen this on TikTok. Like, how true is this? And we can just have those open and honest conversations about particular trends that go out there. And, there's so many things that have come up. I mean, I remember when the Euros was on, when we won, well, when the Lionesses won. Um, and there was a video about the a couple of the players did like a little short video at the start of like the Euros, and they said, "Oh yeah, but since cutting out carbs, like my performance has been so much better." And it was
Yeah,
crazy because there were so many eyes on the Euros, and then having players at the time. I mean, I wasn't at Chelsea at that time. I was at Birmingham, but I still went into Birmingham the next day, and I was like bombarded with these questions like, "Well, should I cut out carbs then? Because X player has just said that their performance is benefited from completely cutting out carbs." So I think it is just being honest and trying to convince them that everything that you see online, like, isn't always true. Everything that you Google isn't always the answer. And just because someone has a blue tick next to their name doesn't mean that they're educated. That's a
yeah,
big one because, especially on things like Instagram, like there's so many people out there that will put information and they're popular as a person. So why wouldn't you listen to them? But it's just about, yeah, I think making sure that they're aware of actual research out there, rather than the information that they're seeing online.
yeah. It's super hard. Because obviously, yeah. like there's so many people out there and there's so much information that's just coming from all different angles. And like you
Yeah.
said, the blue tick itself is paid for, so you can pay for that. Um,
Yeah.
so that's frustrating. But yeah, so much information and so much that just like reverses against each other, sort of fights against each other. And
Yeah.
yeah, it
I think so, like a common mistake is like where one research article comes out and they jump on that as if it's game changing, when actually it's just one study
yeah,
on a
yeah.
small sample size, like it doesn't prove anything.
That's right. It's not a meta-analysis of,
Yeah.
thousands of studies and heaps of people and of all different age groups. It sort of works. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I hate how they cherry pick and jump on the exact thing they're looking
Yeah.
for. And even if the study
Yeah.
doesn't actually say that, like the results itself might not say that, but they've found this tiny little line that just suits their narrative
That
nicely.
they can run with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough world out there. All right. So what's next for you in your career, and are there any big goals you're working towards?
Oh, good question. I think for me, I'd love to be supporting a national team. I think a life goal of mine is to work and support athletes in the Olympics. Doesn't necessarily have to be football, but it is something that I've, got lots of experience in now, and I've loved being a part of. And I definitely want to remain in female sport. For me, it's just so rewarding to see the growth in the sport, and also like you'll be aware that the research is still limited in female athletes. But it's growing and it's developing. It's really exciting. So it's a really exciting space to be a part of as a practitioner. So yeah, I think that's what it hopefully will look like for me is getting to that national level, being able to support a team at the Olympics and being in that environment would be really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. I look forward to seeing you do it. But I must
Here's
say as
hoping.
well, yeah, you can do it. 100%. You got this. But I must say for myself, like whenever I give a presentation to a women's team, they take it so much better and like more questions and super interested and keen and yeah, not to say that they're all the men's teams are worse, but just whenever you give a presentation to a women's team, like they're so helpful and so interested, and yeah, it's really positive to be around and to give.
Yeah, I think probably a big part of that is, in men's sport, there are huge fundings on the academy. So they're brought up with a lot of education on their nutrition. They're brought up with nutrition support, whereas that just isn't the case in female sports, unfortunately. So when they do get to that level, that's the first time that they're then um, around that. So you will
Mm.
get lots of inquisitive questions. Um, yeah. And I also think they all know, things like food around the menstrual cycle is something that's building in the nutrition space. So it is something that they are going to want to learn because I think as a female myself, you are kind of brought up to just deal with these things rather than what things can we change even in your diet to help support that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And as the improved understanding comes out and becomes clearer and clearer, it's going to be great.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I said. It's just so exciting to be witnessing and be around when this research is being pushed.
Yeah. Actually, in a podcast I did a couple of episodes ago with Sophie from Tottenham, yeah, she was talking about this and how they sort of monitor their players and sort of when the cycle comes around, they've got like a sort of that player needs this or um like a heat pack or that player needs more carbs during this point and
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, we're very fortunate at Chelsea. We have a female health specialist who's great, and who's so passionate in her role, and been there for years now. So that has been game changing for a lot of players. And working with her as well on nutrition strategies around that has just been great because although the research isn't there, it's things like, it's really individualized, like tiny little tweaks like like you said, like having more carbs during their phase four, like has been game changing for a lot of them. And while you might not be able to back that up 100% by research, in practice, like it works for these players. And why would you not do that then? Why would you not continually do that every time they're in phase four if they've got a benefit from it?
Yeah, definitely that makes sense. Um, all right, so I've just got some like quick fire questions for you to finish up on. What's your go-to pre-game meal when you sort of get nervous or excited on game day, just like the players?
Yeah, I actually generally I do get nervous during that time. Mine's breaded chicken, mash, and veg.
Yeah. So you're getting all nervous like with the build up to the game, it's about to go out there, everyone to perform.
Yeah, I think it's more like I want everything to go well. Like I want
Mm.
pre-match to go well. I want all the nutrition to be fine. It's more like focusing on my area, to be fair, and then hopefully getting the result from that.
Yeah. But I think that's great because I think more people should hear that from the backroom staff sort of thing because it's not just the players, like it's a community of people that are working towards these results and to get everyone to perform the best they can. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
Okay, so what's your suggested best post-match recovery snack?
sushi. It's
Sushi.
always a winner.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right, coffee or tea?
Oh, both. Coffee.
Both. Specific coffee?
Always a flat white.
Okay. I've my partner's got me into having these like caramel shot with my latte.
Oh, really? Ah, nice.
Yeah, I can't though, obviously just every now and then, but it's delightful.
Yeah, yeah.
Favorite cheat meal?
Oh, anything Asian or Mexican? Not picky.
Yeah, Mexican's great. I love good Mexican food.
It's-
One player who's secretly a nutrition geek at Chelsea.
I would probably say Z, Zachira.
Yep.
Yeah, she's always been switched on with her nutrition.
Just always peppering you with questions or
Yeah, for sure. And she loves it. Like, so it's always like an interesting conversation to have.
yeah, cool. No, that's nice. Who is the funniest player in the Chelsea women's squad?
Ah, oh God, this is hard. I'll
Is
say
there a few?
Erin. Yeah, there's a few. Erin or Sam. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a few videos of them sort of like cracking jokes and stuff like that and playing with people. So that's great. It's good to have people like that around.
Yeah, for sure.
If you weren't a sports nutritionist, what would you be doing?
I think I'd be a chef. I was always interested in cooking when I was growing up. So it was always between nutrition and cooking. So maybe like a performance chef. Yeah, that's what I'd be doing.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So yeah, food. You've definitely locked into the right area, haven't you?
Yeah, I am, yeah. I don't not very diverse from anything from food.
Um, are you just like 100% on food? Like you just go home from work and you're like, whoa, I got to chase that study up today. I didn't finish that one last night.
I mean, it's like a 24/7 just food on the brain.
Are you like, did you go out to dinner with mates and you're sort of analyzing what everyone eats and you're like, hey,
Yeah, they always say like, I hope you're not judging me right now. And I'm like, I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm judging, but I've definitely looked at your plate like,
yeah. Do you,
you
do
always
you,
you always look at that plate and be like, whoa, what could you do better?
do you get the like if you're at a party or something like that or a family thing and someone finds out your job and then all of a sudden they've come up to you and they're like, right, intermittent fasting.
Oh my God, yeah, and it's always intermittent fasting. Always. Or it's like, oh, I've been trying to lose weight for like 2 years and I can't shift it, is
Yes.
typically the line.
Oh God, I feel like that comes with a job, doesn't it? Just those
Yeah.
pestering questions, but yeah, most of them are harmless. I hate when they try to battle it though, like when you've tried to give them like your information and they just fight you on it. It's like,
True.
why'd you even ask
It's
me?
like, yeah, why are you getting my opinion if you're already set on the answer?
Yeah. All right, so what's one food that you can't live without and you can't say soy sauce?
Oh my God. Do you know what? Weirdly, I feel like milk because milk's in everything. And I,
Okay.
I love milk. Like I'll have that as my pre-sleep snack sometimes.
Yeah.
Have it in your coffees, you have it in cereals, you have it in porridge. Like, yeah, I feel like milk would be my shout on that. You
I
weren't
was not
expecting that,
expecting
weren't you?
that. No, no, not at all, not even close. But I love that. It's a good answer. All right. So what's the fa your favorite game that you've been a part of so far?
I think the second leg of Man City, that turnaround in the first half was incredible to be a part of. Um, yeah, that was just a great game to be involved in.
Yeah. I can just imagine going back into the change room after that one. And it's just, oh, just everyone's just so happy.
Yeah, do you know what? I wouldn't say it was happy. I think it was like, right, the job's not done, like still
Oh,
45 to go. Like that's their mentality.
yeah. Oh, brilliant. That's super cool. Actually, oh, I'll get to these first, and I've got one more question. Okay, yeah. Who's your dream dinner guest? It can be footballer or non-footballer.
Do you know what? Growing up, I was always a fan of Jessica Ness Hill. She's a she's British athletics.
Oh, okay.
She was huge in that. Always an idol. Obviously, I was a runner when I was growing up, so yeah, I'd definitely like to sit down for dinner with her.
Yeah, cool. What would you pick her brain apart about?
I think just her experience in the Olympics, what her training was like, and probably about what food she eats.
Chelsea have found the right person. Like, oh God. Um, yep, you're the one. Okay. Best part about working with Chelsea's women's team.
The players. Yeah, 100%. They're such a good group of people. And it's such a lovely environment to be a part of.
Yeah, nice. That's so good. Okay. So last one of these questions. Describe Chelsea's women's team in one word.
Champions.
Champions. Beautiful. How good. The one question I had for you, have you found, or has this happened, when a coach changes, does a coach come in and go, right, I'm making some changes to the menu? So like sometimes you hear stories about a coach coming in and then banning ketchup or
Yeah,
mayonnaise.
yeah.
Have you experienced this?
Um, Previously, yeah, it's definitely been a case. Like it is things like condiments, weirdly. Sometimes sweets are taken off as an option because that's just what they believe in. But it's something that like you can work with them, and once you've built that relationship with them, you can then educate them. But I think definitely at the start, you kind of just have to take the hit and go with it.
Yeah, I bet. And then try and find like little wins where you can sneak it in somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. All right. So yeah, that's all I had for you. But if anyone listening to this wanted to sort of follow you and find out more about what you do and the delicious food that you guys serve up, how can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on probably most social media platforms, KJB Nutrition, on Instagram. Um, yeah, that's where I mostly post, to be fair, is Instagram.
Yep. Beautiful. All right. Yeah, thanks for having you. Or thank you for having you. Thanks for thanks for stopping by. Thanks for stopping
Oh,
by.
it's actually been great. Yeah, it's been really nice catching up, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of your podcast.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for stopping by. Actually, yeah, I just know there's so many like Australian followers and people that I talk to that love to hear this, and they're very interested in especially what you guys are doing over there because obviously we're a bit further back from in the footballing world, but yeah, so I guess, and for me personally, I'm trying to push this stuff over here, and
Yeah.
to get this kind of thing from you guys definitely helps me do that, and yeah, definitely appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, keep going. You're doing great work.
That's all for today, guys. You can follow the Football Nutritionist at Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and jump over to our website at www.thefootballnutritionist.com. Keep fueling for success and kicking those goals.